she said. "I can't help it if other men find me irresistible. Maybe you should step your game up." The words came right after I saw her give her number to a random guy. I told her, "You're right." The next day, her name was off everything I paid for. Her stuff was packed, and her tea didn't work. She called me 23 times that day. I'm 34, male, and apparently I needed to step my game up, according to Natalie, my now ex-girlfriend of 3 years. Well, I stepped it up. Just not in the way she expected. Before we move forward, I'd like you to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and keep watching, because the best part's coming up next. It started on a Saturday night at Copper Mill, a trendy downtown bar where we were celebrating her friend Amanda's promotion. The place was packed with the usual weekend crowd, good music, and flowing drinks. Natalie looked stunning in a red dress that cost more than most people's rent. She always dressed to impress. Around 10 p.m., I was chatting with some guy about sports when I spotted her at the bar with a tall man in an expensive suit, the kind who looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. Nothing unusual. Natalie attracted attention everywhere we went. But then she laughed at something he said, leaned in close, pulled out her phone, and handed it to him. He typed something in, she took it back, typed again, and they put their phones away. She touched his arm while laughing again. I walked over calmly. The guy saw me coming and disappeared quickly. A wise move. "What was that about?" I asked. Natalie, with a smug look, said, "Oh, that some guy wanted my number, so I gave it to him." I repeated her words back. "You gave him your number?" She shrugged. "I can't help it if other men find me irresistible, Jake. Maybe you should step your game up." The dismissive tone, the entitlement. It was like I should be grateful she was with me at all. Amanda and a couple of her friends witnessed the whole thing. Some looking uncomfortable, others trying not to smile. I said, "You're right. I should definitely step my game up." She smiled, thinking she'd won. "Good. I'm glad you finally get it." I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. She called after me, asking where I was going, but I kept walking. She'd find out soon enough. The next morning, Sunday, I woke up with crystal clear focus. Time to step my game up exactly as she suggested. I reviewed our living situation. My apartment, my lease, my name only. She'd moved in about 18 months ago, but never got added to the lease. That meant she had tenant rights, so I couldn't just kick her out without proper notice. Fine. I'd get creative. First, I cut off the financial support. Her car lease was in her name, but I'd been covering payments for the past year. I called the leasing company and told them I was no longer paying on her behalf, effective immediately. Next was her phone. She was on my family plan, saving about $60 a month. I removed her line, effective at the end of the billing cycle in 3 days. I removed her from my car insurance policy, canceled her authorized user credit cards, and cut her off from my gym membership. For the apartment, I couldn't change the locks yet. But I rented a storage unit and drafted a professional 30-day notice for her to vacate, explaining that the relationship was over and all financial support was ending immediately. I left the letter on the kitchen counter for her to find. That evening, she came home still in last night's dress, hungover. She read the letter, her face shifting from confusion to panic, then anger. "Jake, what is this?" she demanded. "It's a 30-day notice to vacate," I said calmly. "Also, notice that I'm no longer covering any of your expenses. Effective immediately." She protested that I couldn't be serious. "Dead serious, Natalie. You told me to step my game up last night, so I did. Turns out I was subsidizing someone who gives her number to random men and tells me I'm not good enough. She tried to argue, but I shut it down. Later, she tried to order food with her credit card. Declined. Tried another. Declined. She called me in a panic. I reminded her she was no longer an authorized user. "How am I supposed to eat?" she asked. "The same way adults function, Natalie. Use your own money." By Monday, reality was setting in. Her car payment was due, and the leasing company called her directly about repossession. She begged me to help. I told her that was a budgeting problem, not a me problem. She called friends to borrow money, and Amanda covered it, once. On Tuesday, her phone service was cut off, and by Wednesday, she showed up at my office, begging for another chance. I told her she'd been honest for the first time on Saturday night, and I was acting accordingly. If you're hooked so far, tap like and subscribe to keep going. Within a week, she was bouncing between friends' couches, burning through what little money she had. Amanda called me, frustrated, saying Natalie wouldn't look for her own place and accused me of being vindictive. I told her I was just no longer subsidizing someone who thought other men were more interesting than me. 2 weeks later, she tried showing up with a locksmith to get into the apartment, claiming she'd lost her key. Building management called me, and I denied authorization. She screamed over the phone about needing her stuff. I told her to text me a date and time to collect it. She came with Amanda and a moving truck that Wednesday, and I supervised as they packed her things. She tried one last time to reconcile, but I reminded her. She told me to step my game up. A month later, she had a studio apartment across town, co-signed by her parents because her credit wasn't good enough. I heard from Amanda that Natalie was working extra hours to cover all the bills she never realized I'd been paying. Car, phone, insurance, gym, streaming services. Being irresistible didn't pay the cost of living. She reached out through mutual friends to apologize and ask for another chance. But my answer never changed. She got exactly what she asked for. The irony is that her Saturday night comment was meant to make me compete for her attention. But it made me realize my own worth and stop supporting someone who didn't appreciate it. Even her friends grew tired of her complaining. I saw her once at the grocery store, using coupons and counting items in her cart. She waved, I nodded, and moved on. The man from that night never called her. He was married and just collecting numbers for fun. In the end, she learned that some men don't compete. They walk away. When someone tells you to step your game up, sometimes that means stepping back from people who don't value what you bring to their lives. Natalie is now learning to be irresistible on her own budget. Meanwhile, I stepped my game up by removing support from someone who thought other men were more interesting than me. Sometimes the best revenge is just stopping the kindness that was taken for granted and letting people handle their own responsibilities. Honestly, I think Jake handled this in the most mature yet impactful way possible. Instead of yelling, begging, or playing games, he simply cut off the resources she took for granted and let reality do the talking. This wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries. If someone shows you they don't value your effort, your support, or your presence, the best move isn't to fight for their approval. It's to step back and invest that energy into yourself. And that's exactly what he did. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share this video with a friend who needs to hear it. And I want to know, what do you think about Jake's approach? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.